A record crowd of nearly 86,000 in a national television audience saw the Cleveland Browns open the 1970 season against the Jets in the first of the NFL's Monday night games. For the Browns, it was to be a spectacular introduction to the American Football Conference. At first, the Browns dominated the game. Homer Jones' 94-yard return and the familiar combination of Bill Nelson to Gary Collins helped build a 14-point Cleveland lead. Then, Broadway Joe Namath, at his best under bright lights, turned the rout into a barn burner. Namath cut the lead to 3 points, and with 38 seconds left, had the Jets driving again. But linebacker Billy Andrews ended the suspense and the game. For the third time in their 25-year history, the Browns had entered a new league in dramatic fashion. Six days later in San Francisco, the Browns' offense exploded against the championship-bound 49ers. Leroy Kelly ran for 2 touchdowns, and Bill Nelson passed for over 300 yards. He launched 2 beautifully thrown bombs, both pulled in by Fair Hooker. The result was that for the second straight week, the Browns scored 31 points. But the complexion of the game and the entire season changed quickly when Nelson was hurt. The Browns lost the game and their quarterback. From San Francisco, the Browns returned to Cleveland on United Airlines. Like most teams in the NFL, the Browns fly United, and though the skies were friendly, the trip home was somber. Bill Nelson was out of the lineup indefinitely. With Nelson out, the man on the spot was Don Galt, a rookie from the taxi squad. Blanton Collier chose him over #1 draft choice Mike Phipps because of time lost with the college All-Stars. But against Pittsburgh, another rookie made an immediate impression. Number 80, Joe Jones, inserted on passing situations, harassed Terry Bradshaw all evening. Bradshaw was sacked 7 times and caught for a safety. Incredibly, the 2 points were all Cleveland could manage in the first half. The game was a nightmare for Don Galt. So in the second half, Mike Phipps made his long-awaited debut. He completed 3 straight, the last for 53 yards to Reese Morrison. In his first series as a pro, Mike Phipps had led the Browns to a touchdown. 3 plays later, Erich Barnes iced the victory by intercepting a pass and striding 38 yards. Roll number 40, it was the 7th touchdown interception and NFL record. The next week, in one of the dramatic moments in sport, Paul Brown returned to Cleveland after 8 years. The game was the official beginning of intrastate warfare. Despite hard hitting by the Browns, Cincinnati took a 10-0 lead. Then Big Walter Johnson started Cleveland off by steamrolling Virgil Carter in the end zone for 2 points. 6 plays later, Bill Nelson, back in the lineup again, hit Kelly in the corner, and the Browns were within 1. Disaster soon struck, and the Browns fell further behind. But the bandage brigade of the Browns would not give up. Kelly's great run and Nelson's pass to Milt Moore rallied the Browns and gave Coach Collier a throat-grabbing 30-27 victory over the Bengals. Under the blue skies of Miami, the Browns met the Dolphins, who had won 4 straight and had turned a vacation resort into a football town. But in the sauna bath known as the Orange Bowl, the Browns played an almost perfect football game. Despite his knees, Bill Nelson dissected Miami's zone so thoroughly, he wound up completing 20 of 26 passes. The ball-hawking Browns gave one of their all-time great defensive performances. They intercepted 3 Miami passes, 1 a 56-yard touchdown by Dale Lindsey, and they held Bob Greasy to just 41 yards passing. Paul Warfield was shut off. The Dolphins were shut out, 28-0. Just when the season looked brightest, everything came apart. Incredibly, Cleveland lost the next 3 games. First, against San Diego, they had victory virtually stolen away by the Chargers. The next Sunday in Oakland, the Browns played one of the most exciting games of the year. Bo Scott made a run that will rank as one of the greatest in Cleveland history. Scott's stunning 63-yard touchdown capped a comeback that put the Browns ahead 20-13. Ironically, Cleveland's downfall began when the defense knocked Darryl LaMonica out of the game. The Browns' lead seemed to be safe, but a grizzled antique named Blanda entered the game and led the Raiders to a tying touchdown with only 90 seconds left. The tie would have kept Cleveland in first place, but the team was unwilling to settle for a stalemate and tried for field goal position. The strategy was courageous, but it backfired. With 7 seconds to go, the 43-year-old miracle worker kicked a 52-yard field goal. It was the cruelest blow of the year for the Browns. Next was a rematch with the Bengals in Cincinnati. Collier decided to rest Bill Nelson, who was having trouble maneuvering on his bad knees. So Mike Phipps made his first start as a pro. On the game's first series, Phipps led the Browns to a score. It was to be the only touchdown of the day for Cleveland. Cincinnati adjusted their defense, scored twice, and handed the Browns their 3rd straight loss. The following week in Cleveland, the Browns bounced back. Joe Jones made his first start and was turned loose on the Oilers. Bill Nelson returned to action with 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Chip Glass. The Browns stayed on top of their division 28-14. The Browns played their worst game of 1970 on a dark, rain-soaked day in Pittsburgh. With first place at stake, Blanton Collier saw his team completely outplayed by the Steelers. The Browns were held without a touchdown for one of the few times in their history. A race that was supposed to be won in a breeze was now locked in a 3-way tie. On Monday evening, December 7th, Cleveland paid its first visit to Houston's Pleasure Palace, the Astrodome. The game was decided just before the half with a goal line stand from the Browns' 1-yard line. Amidst the howling of Houston fans, Cleveland took over at its goal. With a double blitz coming, Nelson called an audible. The clutch call got the Browns out of the well and ignited a spark. With less than a minute left in the half, Nelson worked the time drill to perfection. Disdaining the huddle, he drove the Browns to the Oiler 1-yard line. With 8 seconds left in the half, Cleveland had no timeouts remaining. There was time for one last play. Nelson calmly hit Collins in the end zone. The Browns had raced 99 yards and beaten the clock. In the second half, a nationwide TV audience saw the Browns of old as Kelly and Scott ripped the Oiler defense to shreds. Bo Scott ran for more than 80 yards, and Kelly went over the century mark for the 22nd time in his career, a record among active players. Cleveland's 21-10 triumph was a tribute from the team to Blanton Collier, and as the Browns left the field victorious, 2 retiring coaches said their final farewells. Five days later, it was all over for the Browns. In the rain and mud of Municipal Stadium, the team played well against Dallas, but they lost a game they had to win. Cleveland scored first when it got 2 points, their only 2 points, by tackling Bob Hayes in the end zone. Despite the rain, Nelson passed brilliantly, but neither team could score a touchdown. A key play occurred when on 4th and 1 on their own 11, Bo Scott couldn't turn the corner and was stopped short of a first down. Dallas's Mike Clark earlier had missed 2 field goals from short range, and Cleveland's Don Cockroft soon shared his misfortune. But the real heartbreaker occurred when Collins, open over the middle, was hit on his injured ribs and coughed up the ball. With it went the ball game. It was a tough loss to take, for Cleveland had dominated the dark day. But the Browns had simply run out of tomorrows in quest of a 3rd straight division title. The team played Denver in the season's final game. Nothing was at stake but pride as they soundly beat the Broncos. Blanton Collier's coaching career had ended in victory. In In 1970, Cleveland stretched its streak to 17 straight home crowds over 80,000. But it just wasn't a Browns year. Key injuries hurt the most, especially on offense, where 3/4 of the starting backfield was benched with injuries. Leroy Kelly suffered with sprains of both ankles. He injured the first early in the season and missed one game. 2 weeks later, he sprained the other ankle and missed 2 more games. Kelly never did regain top form. Still, he earned a spot as the 10th best runner in NFL history, and there were moments when he was typically Leroy Kelly. The touchdown tandem of Bill Nelson to Gary Collins was hampered all year. Though he painfully played with broken ribs, the clutch catch by Collins was a sight still seen in 1970. For Bill Nelson, more than anyone, it was a season of agony. His knee problems began as a Steeler when the quarterback underwent 2 of his 3 operations. This year, Nelson was never the same after his injury in San Francisco. His knees sometimes buckled and he often threw off balance. To ignore the pain required a courage beyond most men. Mike Phipps, who was to be the quarterback of the future, may become the man of the moment in 1971. But Bill Nelson will return to offer a challenge. At 6'3", 210 pounds, the heir apparent from Purdue has the size and strength to take a lick and come back for more. Mike Phipps, with his talent, intelligence, and poise in the path of danger, will be a Cleveland Brown for a long, long time. The man with the unlikely name of Fair Hooker will be depended upon even more in 71. With his great speed and many moves, Hooker was a huge help in his first year as a starter. Few teams have tight ends the caliber of Milt Morin and Chip Glass, number 83. Between them, they took turns at being the best at their position the Browns have ever had. The twin tight ends combined for 52 receptions and nearly 1,000 yards. Chip Glass had the highest average among all Cleveland receivers, while Milt Morin, number 89, continued his happy habit of bowling over opponents for every extra inch he could get. With Kelly hurt, Reese Morrison continued to show the grit that makes him one of the best utility men in the pro game. But no one in Cleveland had more reason to smile than Bo Scott. In his first full season as a regular, he was chosen most valuable player on the club. Big Bo proved the perfect running mate to Leroy Kelly and appears to be another in the long line of great Cleveland running backs. One of the year's heartwarming stories was the return of Ben Davis after 2 seasons with a knee injury. Number 28 once intercepted passes in 7 straight games. Hopefully, the long road back is over for Ben Davis. But the big story for Cleveland was the emergence of a defensive line that became a major menace for NFL quarterbacks. Seasoned 6-year veteran Walter Johnson, number 71, is the kingpin of Cleveland's fledgling front four. At 275 pounds, he looms as a raging roadblock for enemy runners. At the other tackle was number 72, rookie Jerry Shirk. Browns took one look in training camp, then handed the job to the wrestling champion from Oklahoma State. In the season's opener, the rookie was tested time after time by the New York Jets. The strategy failed as Shirk's size and strength overcame his inexperience. After that, the youngest player on the team improved with each game. Young Jack Gregory, a favorite with the fans, is one of the fine young defensive stars of the NFL. At 6'5½", 250 pounds, he plays the pass and run equally well. But the best thing about Gregory is he's going to be even better. '70 saw the beginning of a legend. Number 80, Joe Jones, the second rookie on the line, may become Cleveland's next folk hero. With contagious exuberance, Jones frolics on the field like a kid in a sandbox. He is clocked at 4.6 for 40 yards, which is running back speed. Joe Jones is the fastest lineman ever to wear a Browns uniform. His nickname is Turkey, because he comes off the line wild, arms flailing and clawing at the passer or the ball. And like the Deacon, he gives the helmet slap, then simply blows by his blocker. Opponents soon began to double-team the 6'6" rookie from Tennessee State, but it didn't make any difference to Jones. Joe Jones may be the most exciting thing to happen in Cleveland in a long, long while. The Browns lost to 4 playoff teams by a total of only 14 points, but the past is beyond repair, and next year Cleveland crowds will witness a new era. Nick Scourge succeeds Collier as head coach, and he takes control of a young team with a bright football future. The Browns, winners for so long, will continue their great tradition. And the decade of the '70s will be a new era for the Cleveland Browns.